Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in a resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow, incrementally, in tiny amounts, breath by breath, to allow feelings of stress, worry, or anxiety to slowly but surely feel that they are leaving your body in each outward breath. Breathing in that feeling of calm and relaxation, and exhaling all of those things that have been weighing on your mind. Here in this place, the calm and relaxation enables you to breathe a little slower, deeper in and deeper out. And just imagine that you can start to let go just of a few things, and you already know what those things are. So as you breathe in that resourceful feeling of hope and possibility, and start to release some old ideas about who you are and what simply is. Because what simply is at one point in time is different at a different time. You could say with absolute truth, it is the daytime. But hours later, it may be nighttime. So sometimes what is true in one moment is untrue in the next. As you breathe in and breathe out, allow a slow but steady feeling of relaxation to grow. And as your body relaxes, allow your imagination to go on a journey, to be playful. And I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine a beach, perhaps a beach that you can remember from your childhood. Maybe a beach not far from the city of Girona. Maybe there's a beach with a cove, clear water, and boats. And I want you to imagine being on the sandy beach, looking out into the water. And I want you to imagine in the recent past, perhaps the previous day, that there was a big storm just off the coast. And because of that big storm, there is big waves. The boats are rocking up and down. The water is not tranquil at all. The waves that hit the beach are big, heavy waves. And I want you to get a sense that the turbulent waters of the sea somehow connect with the activity of your mind. But as you're there on the beach, breathing in and breathing out slow, deep breaths, with each breath, notice how the waves start to calm. That the turbulent waters become less turbulent, more calm. And slowly but surely, the waters become still. Imagine looking out to those still waters and feeling a sense of calmness. Breathing in, breathing out. And just allow feelings of tension to be released from your forehead. Allow your eyelids to feel more relaxed. The muscles in your jaw to be released. Remember a time when you had a wonderful, long, enjoyable yawn. And just imagine yawning on the beach, looking out at the still waters. The boats are still there in the cove. And I want you to imagine the sun has come out, and you can feel the sun on your skin. Maybe feel your toes in the sand as you feel a wonderful feeling of calm and relaxation. As you breathe in and breathe out, I want you to imagine what would be a desirable future. A future that represents freedom. Freedom without worry and stress and anxiety. And I want you to imagine you could almost see that future at the other end of the beach. For some reason, there is no one else on this beach except you. I want you to imagine you could see that future, and it's just a 3-minute walk further up on the beach. You can see that future that you desire. I want you to imagine walking towards that future. But as you walk towards the future, feel that something is stopping you. Imagine a thick rope tied around your waist. And imagine that as you look back, the rope is attached to a thick, heavy, solid metal anchor. Imagine it's an anchor not of a small boat, but of a very large boat. There it is on the shore. An anchor so heavy, it could stop an incredibly big boat from being washed out to sea. And imagine that you are attached to this large anchor there on the sand. And no matter how hard you want to walk forwards towards this future that you desire, you are attached to the anchor. I want you to imagine looking at the anchor, and I want you to see a date on the anchor. And maybe this date, maybe it's 20 years ago. For some reason, there is a specific date on the anchor. But before this date, the anchor didn't exist. And then it did. And ever since then, you've been attached to something that is designed to keep you safe. The purpose of an anchor for a boat is to stop it floating off towards danger at sea. But boats aren't meant to stay in the harbour. Boats are built to explore the seas. An anchor is useful if the anchor is dropped at specific times. But if the anchor is permanently dropped, the function of a boat becomes meaningless. I want you to imagine that this feels even more like the anchor does not protect you because you are not a boat. It becomes something that holds you back. There's things that you might want to do, places to go, things to do that you can't possibly do while attached to this heavy, immovable anchor. And allow your mind to think about all the things that this anchor could represent. Certain things that have become part of your identity which aren't true. People don't have anxiety in their genetics. It's emotion that they experience. Some people experience the emotion more, some less. But if this anchor represents anxiety, it comes from a misunderstanding of what anxiety is. The anxiety is not the anchor, it's the waves that come and go on the shore. Maybe the anchor represents your past. Maybe it represents emotions, guilt, security, protection. Allow your mind to think of all the things that this anchor represents. And then look at the other end of the beach and see that future that's so desirable for you. A future of freedom, of relaxation. Maybe there's a version of you in that future that can just sit down and do nothing and enjoy the view. I want you to imagine seeing that future, but knowing that you can't walk towards the future while simultaneously being attached to the anchor. If the anchor is going to keep you safe, why do you experience so much anxiety while being attached to the anchor? I want you to get a sense that sometimes what we think protects becomes a prison. If your unconscious mind would like to explore a future not with no anxiety, but with just the right amount of anxiety when it's useful, let me know by nodding your head. If your unconscious mind would like the freedom that comes from making choices based on what you want rather than what you're trying to avoid, let me know by nodding your head. If your unconscious mind is willing to make a new evaluation, that if the anchor is trying to protect, why is it causing such restriction? If there was a threat on the beach, you are not protected by the anchor, you are impeded by it. How could you run away from a threat if you're attached to the anchor? And allow your unconscious mind to consider the possibility that all of this anxiety doesn't keep you safe. It just takes away your ability to see what is a genuine threat. That if you weren't attached to the anchor, you would very quickly learn to spot the difference between a false alarm and real danger. And if your unconscious mind knows that the only way to learn that is to let go of the constant anxiety, let me know by nodding your head. There's been a voice there in your head for a long time in trying to keep you safe. It's led you to be scared of shadows, to see threats and danger where there are none. And if everything is dangerous, how can you possibly tell what is the real danger? So if you're now willing to have a new question when the thoughts of anxiety come, and maybe that thought is something as simple as, let's find out, we'll see, prove it. And if the voice of anxiety can't prove it's a genuine threat, you are free to entertain the idea that it's a false alarm and not a threat at all. I want you to imagine that there are certain things that are obvious threats and certain things that are obviously not. Doors closing on a train, a red light at the traffic lights are not threats. They're not restrictions. And if you're now willing to recalibrate your mind to filter out those false alarms, to see them no longer as threats or impediments, but just as harmless as all those other things that don't bother you, let me know by nodding your head. And as you make that decision, you notice that just under the surface of the sand is a saw, the kind of saw that you would use to cut wood. You didn't see it before, but now you do. And you now have a choice to make. You can choose to be attached to the anchor, even though you realize that the anchor does not keep you any more safe than if you weren't attached. But you do know that if you're attached to the anchor, having that future of freedom and choice is impossible. Or you could choose to learn how to spot the difference between false alarms and real threats. But you don't learn to swim by reading a book. You only learn to swim by jumping in the water. And if you're ready to cut the rope and venture out towards your future, let me know by nodding your head. So you pick up that saw and you feel the courage and determination to enable you to experience freedom after 20 years of being trapped and attached, based on the entire idea that if this thing was keeping you so safe, Why do you need to be anxious all the time? So as you saw that rope, you see the fabric, the texture of the rope start to fray. And when the final strand breaks, let me know by nodding your head. You feel a sense of relief and freedom as the burden of the anchor and the rope falls to the floor. And for the first time in a long time, you can walk away from the anchor and see that it wasn't serving you. It was holding you back. It wasn't protecting you, it was trapping you. Feel that relief as you start walking towards that future, knowing that it won't be easy, but it will be worthwhile. Trusting your ability to be increasingly discerning between what are false alarms and what is genuine danger. As you breathe in and breathe out, feel like you're walking towards that future. And now feel like it's time to return to the present, because the real future doesn't exist on a beach. It exists in the weeks and months that follow. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, connect with the present moment, as very soon I count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken feeling resourceful, resilient, feeling that you've let go of a very heavy weight that was holding you back and the very cause of the anxiety you want to be free of. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, that's it. Open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.